All right, let's jump right into this explainer. Today, we're unpacking the twin forces actually driving TikTok. We've got the psychological pull of addiction on one side and the algorithmic push of comment manipulation on the other. Whether you're a casual scroller or someone who literally avoids the app at all costs, the mechanics we're going to talk about are actively reshaping how we consume information and, honestly, how we form our worldview.
Just to wrap our heads around the sheer scale here, look at the numbers. Out of their 1.5 billion global monthly active users, the average person is now spending a staggering 59 minutes every single day immersed in the app. That's almost an hour of highly focused, continuous attention. It's a massive jump from just a few years ago.
So it begs the fundamental question, right? Why is it just so hard to stop scrolling? Well, to answer that, we have to look under the hood at the psychological mechanics perfectly designed to keep you hooked. And actually, public health researchers have just recently quantified this using something called the TikTok Addiction Scale.
Now, the crucial point here is that, unlike older platforms where you consciously choose to follow your friends, TikTok uses AI to relentlessly analyze your watch times. It's built to feed you a continuous loop of dopamine hits. You aren't really choosing what to watch at all. The system is just silently observing your micro-reactions, figuring out exactly what makes you tick, and serving up a perfectly tailored, completely never-ending feed.
Researchers have basically broken this addiction engine down into a pretty relatable downward spiral of 6 factors. It starts innocently enough with salience, which is just when the app starts dominating your thoughts. Then comes mood modification, using it to soothe the bad day. But then you build tolerance. You need way more screen time just to feel normal, which quickly triggers withdrawal symptoms when you're forced to put the phone down. Eventually, this actually leads to real-world conflict in your daily life, and finally, relapse, where any attempt to cut back just fails.
Okay, so that brings us to the turn. Let's move beyond the video itself. See, the addiction engine we just talked about, that's really just the hook. The true digital sleight of hand is happening right below the video. We all kind of tend to think of the comment section as this raw, unfiltered public square, right? But platforms are actively deploying these totally opaque algorithms to re-rank conversations and maximize your engagement. Industry insiders actually call this optimizing for comment stay time. The whole goal is to shift you into a passive state of consumption. They rip out chronological sorting entirely, so you only see exactly what the system wants you to see first.
All right, the setup. Let's look at how researchers executed this sock puppet audit.
To actually expose this hidden curation, researchers at Indiana University ran a fascinating, strictly neutral scientific audit to basically spy on the algorithm during the 2024 U.S. presidential election. They programmed 20 automated sock puppet bots, simulating 22 to 25-year-olds, and had them hunt down and consume specific partisan media. They also kept 5 blank slate accounts just as a baseline control. And to be clear, this wasn't passive watching. These bots were actively searching for prominent partisan channels, mimicking real human behavior to send a very clear political preference signal right to the platform.
So, the audit followed a really rigorous 3-step process. First up, the bots established their identity through specific watch habits. Second, the researchers validated that the algorithm had actually learned that identity. And then step 3, the real test. They sent those fully trained bots to 65 politically neutral videos that had tons of crosstalk, just to scrape and record exactly which comments the algorithm decided to feed back to them.
And looking at the workflow here, by strictly isolating each phase, from the initial training to validation to the final evaluation, the researchers absolutely proved the platform had accurately profiled these bots before the real test even kicked off. It's a brilliantly controlled digital experiment that confirms without a doubt the system knew exactly who it was talking to.
Which leads us to the reveal, uncovering the illusion of choice.
Guys, what the data revealed here completely upends our traditional understanding of how social media filter bubbles work. For the longest time, we've assumed algorithms just hide opposing views and only show us what we agree with, right? Like explicit censorship. But the truth is way more subtle. The actual content pool of the comments is identical for everyone. Researchers measure this using something called the Jacquard distance, which basically means the overall composition doesn't change at all. But the personalized ranking, the specific sequence of those comments, measured by the normalized Damoreaux-Levenstein distance, diverges wildly based on your political profile. It's the exact same comments, just in an entirely different order.
Now, as the data here shows, this intense algorithmic re-ranking isn't just happening everywhere all the time. It only aggressively kicks in under very specific conditions. We're talking high comment volumes, heavily concentrated likes, and highly imbalanced partisan debates. So, in quiet, low-engagement videos, the algorithm pretty much leaves the comment order alone. But the second a debate heats up and engagement spikes, the algorithm actively steps in to heavily personalize the order of what you see.
So let's get to the takeaway here. Welcome to the soft echo chamber. This fundamentally changes how we perceive public consensus. Looking at the exposure data for both left-leaning and right-leaning accounts, it clearly proves that congenial viewpoints are systematically elevated right to those highly visible top slots. Whether a user leans left or right, the platform isn't erasing the opposition. No, it just buries them so incredibly far down the page that you are mathematically unlikely to ever scroll far enough to see them.
And let's be honest, we rarely scroll past those top few comments anyway, right? So this subtle reordering creates what we call a soft echo chamber. It literally manufactures our digital first impressions, quietly validating your existing beliefs before you even have a chance to engage with the broader discussion. It hands you this perfectly crafted illusion that you're participating in a balanced public forum when in reality, your entire experience has been highly curated just to mirror your own identity.
So, the next time you find yourself stuck in that dopamine loop of endless scrolling, I want you to ask yourself, are you actually looking at a genuine public consensus or just an algorithmically re-ranked reflection of yourself? It is a wild, fascinating dynamic to consider as these platforms just keep evolving. Thanks for joining me on this explainer today, and remember, keep questioning what's just beneath the surface.